will now move on to the approval of the Rule 45 reports containing the minutes of the November 2021 hearing on the Committee of Zoning, Landmark and Building Standards. All members of this committee should have received a copy of this report electronically. And if hearing no objections, do I have a motion by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum to approve the minutes?
Move approval of the Rule 45 and minutes.
Alderman Hopkins makes the motion. Any objections to his motion?
Hey, you can do it again. Send me home.
Hearing none, the report has been approved. Moving on, we will now hear the items to be deferred. I'll read the ward, the file number, the address, and page number, and take a motion for all at the end. Again, committee members, please note that items that have not been before the Plan Commission will not appear on the revised agenda before you and only appear on the regular agenda. All right. With that being said, on page 3 of the regular agenda in the second ward, file number 20867, for the address commonly known as 1967 North Kingsbury. On page 5 of the regular agenda in the 22nd ward, file number 20869, for the address commonly known as 3201 through 3345 West 31st Street and 3100 through 3258 South Kedzie Avenue. Moving on to page 6 of the regular agenda in the 27th ward, file number 20875 T1, for the address commonly known as 1015 West Fulton Market. On page 6 of the regular agenda, also in the 27th ward, file number 20868, for the address commonly known as 210 through 220 North Morgan Street. On page 6 of the regular agenda, also in the 27th ward, file number 20866, for the address commonly known as 1300 West Carroll Avenue. If no questions by committee members, Alderman Raboyes makes a motion to defer the previously listed items by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, no objections. These items have been deferred. Now we'll go to the public comment period. We have 6 public speakers signed up for today's hearing, and we will hear from them now. Public speaker number 1, and if I get this pronunciation wrong, I apologize. Andrea Paluyer. Andrea.
Good morning. My name is Andrea Kluger, and I'm Deputy Chief of Staff for Government Affairs at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today on an item that is a priority for the CFL. The CFL represents approximately 300 unions who represent 500,000 working people in Chicago and Cook County. On behalf of the CFL and President Bob Reiter, I'm here today to urge the committee to support a residential project at 8535 West Higgins, as filed by applicant Glenn Starr. You will hear from the developer on the specific details of the project, so I'd like to use this time to express why the CFL is in strong support. This development will provide over 200 good family supporting construction jobs, in addition to 15 permanent jobs that Chicago desperately needs. Jobs that will provide long-term economic stability to the community. This development is also located at the Cumberland Blue Line stop, just 2 stops from O'Hare Airport, and will provide much needed housing opportunities for the thousands of workers who keep O'Hare moving throughout the day, as well as to the families and businesses nearby that support the airport. This project has strong support from a diverse group of stakeholders in addition to the CFL, including the Chicago Chamber of Commerce, the Metropolitan Planning Council, the Chicago Apartment Association, Neighbors for Affordable Housing, as well as a coalition of religious leaders on the Northwest Side. Simply put, there is no good reason not to support this project. To further delay this project will only continue to cost working families their jobs. We ask that you vote yes on this proposal today. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. And trust me, that was a typo by my staff. I'm very embarrassed about mispronouncing your last name. All right. Next speaker, Romero Hernandez. Romero.
Yes. Good morning, Chairman Tunney, Vice Chairman Raboyes, and members of the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. My name is Romero Hernandez, Government Relations and Public Policy Manager for the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce. I speak to you today in support of ordinance number 2021-1953. The ordinance will expand housing affordability in the greater Northwest Side by granting Glennstar O'Hare LLC the ability to construct a 7-story multifamily residential building at the property generally located at 8535 West Higgins Road, located along the Kennedy Expressway and off of Cumberland Avenue. Representing over 1,000 diverse businesses across the Chicagoland area, the Chamber and the greater business community at large has a vested interest in ensuring that our housing stock meets the needs of employers, their workers, and the growing economic development we hope to attract in the future. The fact of the matter is that our housing supply is far below what it needs to be today. According to a recent report issued by the National Association of Realtors, the construction of new housing fell 5.5 million units short of long-term historic levels. Here in Chicago, the lack of affordable housing has been a persistent challenge that aggravates issues of employment, opportunity, and accessibility. According to data compiled by the Institute of Housing Studies at DePaul University, the affordability gap for 2019 in the city of Chicago stood at just over 100,000 units. It is clear that more housing supply is needed, and our workers and residents are in need of greater housing options. It is with this sentiment in mind that I reiterate our strong support for the development proposed by Glennstar O'Hare LLC at the 8535 West Higgins Road location. This project will activate a vacant and underutilized site and meet the demand of high-quality housing in that part of the city. Given the community's rapid growth over the last 50 years, the expansion of O'Hare, and the ever-growing hospitality and entertainment footprint in the area, there's a clear need, an immediate need for more market-rate multifamily housing. The proposal before you today, we believe, helps fill this need. In our review of the plans of the proposed development, we believe that the use, height, density, scale, and design of the proposed development are appropriate and in context with the surrounding neighborhood. In closing, this project will mean new construction jobs, new vendor opportunities for small businesses, and new and improved housing options for the Northwest Side. Therefore, I urge the members of the committee to approve the passage of the ordinance 2021-1953. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Michael Rabbit. Michael Rabbit.
Michael Rabbit, please press, there you go.
Hello. Rabbit, the 41st
Identify
ward in
yourself for
Chicago.
the record.
Yes, this is Michael Rabbit. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Are you hearing me? Okay. So my name is Michael Rabbit. I'm a resident of the First Ward in Chicago and a co-founder of Neighbor, a group on the Northwest, making our communities more affordable, accessible, and inclusive. I'm here today to express of the 8535 West Higgins development located in the O'Hare neighborhood near the wheelchair accessible Cumberland Blue Line stop, which will include 59 units of affordable housing. As a reminder, the city's official policy is to prioritize density and affordability near transit hubs such as this one. Having affordable housing built near O'Hare could save airport workers hours every day in daily commute time and offer them a better quality of life. It will also transform opportunities for working class Chicagoans who will gain access to a large job market and will also meet demand for new apartment housing for those living in or near the O'Hare neighborhood. Yet, there has been little to no affordable housing created in this neighborhood since the Affordable Requirements Ordinance was created in 2007. Even though the number of people on current waiting lists for affordable housing in our community are many times the available units, we continue to see efforts to block new affordable units from being built. At a time when the COVID-19 pandemic has worsened an existing housing crisis in our city, we still see opposition to a prime opportunity to expand much needed housing capacity. Sadly, there are forces in place to maintain the status quo and preserve residential segregation in this part of Chicago by opposing affordable housing at every turn. This happens because of intentional decision, not by chance. Decisions such as what is being voted on today is what got us here. This is a moment of truth. You have a chance today to make a decision to change the course of history and take an important step in the direction of compliance with local and federal housing policy. You have the opportunity to demonstrate that affordable housing must be present throughout the city, in every community, and the 41st Ward cannot be exempt. Please vote yes to approve this important development. Thank you.
Speaker is Georgette Foss.
Yes, my name is Georgette Foss. Ladies and gentlemen of the Zoning Committee, I am a Northwest Side resident and a member of Neighbors for Affordable Housing. We are a group of neighbors who organize around and support developments that provide ample affordable units and our neighbors who will benefit from them. I am here today on behalf of my organization to continue to lend support to a development that failed when brought before the City Council the first time a couple of years ago. But happily, this has made it through planning as this far this time around. It's a proposed development by Glenstar at 8535 West Higgins Road, which is in the O'Hare neighborhood near the Cumberland Avenue Blue Line. Recently, it was discovered that 700 applicants are vying for one of 75 units of the nearby 5150 North-Northwest Highway development. This is very telling, given that so many of our neighbors are vying for one of these units, and is proof that affordable housing is something that so many of our neighbors need and want. Let's also reflect on the fact that this proposal is so close to O'Hare and the hotels, motels, and restaurants that serve this vast transportation hub. Some of their employees travel via public transportation anywhere from 1 to 2 hours each way to work. It would be advantageous to them if they could live closer to their jobs, which would allow them more free time to spend with their families, maybe attend classes nearby at Wright or Triton, or even do some volunteer work to give back to the community. It would be dynamic and life-changing if we could finally go forward with this Higgins Road development and offer a neighbor a chance to live closer to work, family, and opportunity. I support this development, as do the rest of the folks in my organization. Let's finally do the right thing, limit aldermanic privilege, and vote yes to this development and bring it to the people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Georgette. Our final speaker is Marley Schott.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marley Schott. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. I am here representing both my organization, Elevated Chicago, and I am also a former resident of the area. And I'm here to testify in support of the proposed development at the property generally located at 8535 West Higgins. Elevated Chicago is a coalition of organizations working to advance equitable transit-oriented development. And Elevated supports and promotes public, private, and civic investment in affordable housing in all of Chicago communities. Within walking distance of the CTA Cumberland station and buses, the Glenstar O'Hare development will provide much needed affordable housing options for working families with easy access to growing employment opportunities along the I-94 industrial corridor, O'Hare Airport, and downtown via public transportation, thus increasing access to job opportunities without requiring a vehicle. This project will activate a long vacant and underutilized site and will fill a need and demand for high quality mixed income housing in this area of the city in particular. The site has far more potential than to remain a little used parking lot, and our city has an affordable housing crisis. In this community alone, almost half of the renters are paying more than the recommended 30% of their income in rent. And excuse me, we cannot continue to let local and political opposition limit the development of safe, accessible, and transit-connected affordable housing. And that is not only within this high-cost community, but across the city. We recognize there's a desperate need for more professionally managed, high-quality, affordable living opportunities in all of Chicago. including the O'Hare area, and for all residents in Chicago. And we have an ordinance that supports the highest and best use of land near transit for transit-oriented developments such as these. This project has built a widespread support with a diverse coalition of affordable housing advocates, the business community and labor community, area businesses, residents, and community organizations. And with this support across the board, this project demonstrates the kind of affordable housing and development projects that our city and region need. And we urge the committee to approve the requested amendment to allow the construction of this 7-story multifamily residential building. Thank you.
The public speaking portion of the hearing. I see we've been joined by Alderman Raymond Lopez and Anthony Beal. Any others on the call to be recognized? All right. So now we're going to go start with the addendum to the agenda. We have one mayoral appointment. That is a.
Garza's here.
Okay, Alderman Garza, you're recognized being here at the call. Thank you.
Alderman Maldonado is here, but I'm not a member.
Alderman Maldonado also. All right. Let me go with the start of the addendum to the agenda. We have one mayoral appointment, that being A 2021-169, the reappointment of Lori Lightfoot as member of the Public Building Commission. We have Karina Sanchez from the Public Building Commission to answer any questions. Any questions? Can I get a motion move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
That is my vice chair, Alderman Raboyes. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, this item is passed. The appointment is passed. Congratulations. Next up, we have on the addendum, we have one text amendment document number 02021-4892. The amendment of Municipal Code Chapters 4-232, 14A through 4, 17-9, 17-10, 17-11, 17-13, 17-14, 17-16 regarding certificate of occupancy and zoning certification. This item does have a substitute. All members of the committee should have received a copy of the substitute as well as a summary electronically. And at this time, I would ask for a motion to accept the substitute by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Alderman.
So moved, Alderman Lopez.
Alderman Lopez makes that motion to accept the substitute. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, the substitute is before us, and we have our building commissioner, Matt Baudet, here to to present this matter. Commissioner, will you proceed? Matt?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Chairman Tunney and members of the Zoning Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. My name is Matt Baudet. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Buildings. With me today also is First Deputy Commissioner Marlene Hopkins and Managing Deputy Grant Ulrich, as well as Zoning Administrator Patrick Murphy. I'm here today to ask for your favorable consideration for the Certificate of Occupancy Cleanup Ordinance. This ordinance was drafted by DOB and DPD to better coordinate and streamline provisions of the Chicago Construction Administration Provisions, Title 14A, and the Chicago Zoning Ordinance, Title 17, regarding the review and approval of permit applications and issuance of certificates of occupancy. The ordinance clarifies the respective roles of DOB and DPD and updates several provisions of the zoning ordinance to reflect transfer.
Commissioner, would you turn up your volume?
Oh, sir.
You're a little soft-spoken, which I know you're not. So
yeah, there we go. I maxed it out. So
thank you.
The ordinance clarifies the respective roles of DOB and DPD and updates several provisions of the zoning ordinance to reflect the transfer of most zoning inspections to DOB, which occurred in 2010, and the adoption of electronic permit application review, which we did in 2012. The ordinance is part of an ongoing commitment by both DOB and DPD to remove confusing and contradictory language from the municipal code and to streamline and expedite the permit process. The substitute ordinance also corrects several minor typographical errors and incorporates language from ordinance 020, 21, 51, 55, introduced by Chairman Tunney, to require parkway tree planting for 1, 2, and 3 unit residential buildings that receive a zoning map amendment, zoning variance, or administrative adjustment. All other 1, 2, and 3 unit buildings remain exempt from the landscape ordinance. Thank you for your time, and I ask for your favor consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have any questions for committee members? Matt, just for clarification, there was confusion about the zoning administrator in the building in regards to C of Os. Could you repeat how this will be streamlined, as you mentioned?
Sure. There's language in the code currently, both in the building code and the zoning code, that have a number of different terms that they use. For instance, occupancy certificate and certificate of occupancy. That's in one area. Other areas have zoning certificates, when there's actually zoning certifications, occupancy certificates when it should be certificate of occupancy. So this use of various terms has been very confusing over the past several years, especially for folks trying to buy homes and do the right things with that. So we want to make it easier and less confusing for people to go through the process and get the permits and zoning certifications that they need. Not
Right.
using the same term.
All right, Patrick Murphy, you want to comment on that? Or Steve, who was ever there for zoning?
Okay, sorry, Chairman. I was not, I wasn't a panelist in order to speak. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, very good. No, we've talked with, Steve and I have worked with Grant and Matt and the law department. We've gone through this and we agree with what Commissioner Baudet wrote. And the idea is, yes, to make things less confusing from the standpoint of how terminology is used in the zoning chapter of the municipal code.
All righty. Any questions, again, from committee members on this text amendments?
Move to pass, Chairman, if no questions. Alderman Lopez.
All right, I have a motion to move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum by Alderman Raymond Lopez. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, the item is passed as amended, right, with the substitute? Okay, all right. Moving on. Thank you, Commissioner and Patrick, our zoning administrator. Moving on, we have large signs over 100 square feet in area, 24 feet above grade. We will hear them all together. I will read the ward, followed by the address, and take a motion at the end. Starting with 7 signs in the 14th ward, located at 5559 South Kedzie Avenue. Also in the 14th ward, 4854, 4856 South Pulaski Road. In the 14th ward, 4675 South Archer Avenue. 4 signs in the 21st ward located at 233 West 87th Street. 14 signs in the 27th ward located at 1001 West Chicago Avenue. In the 34th ward, 9718 South Halsted Street. 3 signs in the 44th ward located at 3637 North Southport Avenue. And in the 47th ward, 4732 North Lincoln Avenue. Lastly, in the 50th ward, 2516 West Devon Avenue. If there are no questions by committee members, do I hear a motion to move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum? Alderman Carrie Austin. Alderman Carrie Austin makes moves to pass. Any objections? Hearing none, the orders are passed. Last item on the addendum is a correction to ordinance S0-2020-2375 for the property located at 3501 through 3519 North Halsted. This is a direct introduction to correct a clerical error. All committee members should have received a copy of the ordinance electronically. And if there are no objections, can I receive a motion to accept the direct introduction by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum? Alderman Carrie Austin so moves. Any objections? Hearing none, the direct introduction is before us, and we have Patrick Murphy here to speak on this item, and I believe it's in the 46th ward. All right, Patrick.
This is for the Halsted address, sir?
Correct. 3501 through 19 North Halsted.
Right. When we took in the application, and some changes had to be made to the application, we erroneously recorded the direction from Halsted as west instead of east. So it was just a transcribing error that we made in our office. And this is just to rectify that. There's no changes to the application. There were no problems with the application other than that directional reference, which was a mistake we made.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Murphy? Nope. Do I hear a motion to move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum? Alderman Kappelman moves that motion. Any objection to his motion? Hearing none, this ordinance is passed. And I know Alderman Kappelman and I are very proud of this Howard Brown facility on Halsted. So sooner they get out of the ground, the better. All right, we will now move on to the regular agenda in an effort to minimize technical difficulties and to ensure the committee meeting runs as smoothly as possible. The typical order in which items will be heard has been updated throughout the duration of virtual Committee on Zoning meetings. Items will be grouped together according to witness attorney and will be heard in that order rather than the ward order. We will be on page 1 now, and let me read it into the record. Document number A8733 in the 2nd ward. Ordinance was referred on October 25th of 2021. The common address is 1535 North Dayton Street, and the change request. Residential plan development number 1427 to C35 Commercial Manufacturing and Employment District. We have Alderman Hopkins on this aldermanic ordinance. Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
We can proceed.
Okay. Yeah, we have a letter on file of support for this matter. This was a former development proposal that was canceled eventually. We did change the zoning to accommodate the developer. The property has since been sold and the development has been canceled. So this is merely an attempt to revert to the original zoning.
All right. Any questions for the alderman? I'm sorry.
Just move approval and ask for an aye vote.
Okay. So Alderman Hopkins moves to pass on this item. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, the item is passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now we're in page 1, document number A8729 in the 10th ward. Ordinance was referred on September 14th of 2021. The common address is 2863 East 93rd Street, and the change request from a B31 community shopping district to an RS3 residential single unit detached house district. We have Alderwoman Susan Sedlowski Garza. Sue?
Thank you, Chairman Tunney. Yes, I'd like to speak to this item. This property has been a nuisance for over 5 years. We have consistently tried to reach the owner. The owner has been non-responsive up until last week when he received the notice of the zoning change. The community surrounding this business has been up in arms. I believe there's somebody from the 4th district. We have had numerous calls for service, pop-up parties. The building department has been there to shut them down, to no avail. They ignore the cease and desist orders by the business affairs, by the building department. This can no longer, this is right in the middle of a residential area and is not conducive to what a healthy lifestyle for my constituents, thus the zoning change. So I would hope this committee would support this change and hopefully curtail this activity that's going on there, so the constituents in my ward could have a lifestyle that's conducive to being healthy and not being up all hours of the night, Monday through Sunday. So I thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Any questions for Alderman Garza?
Move to
Here.
pass, Chairman.
Who is that? Alderman Wagisback
Yeah.
makes a motion to move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Objections? Hearing none, your item is passed, Alderwoman.
Thank you, committee.
All right, bottom of page 1, document number A8721 in the 17th Ward. Ordinance was referred on September 14th of 2021. Alderman David Moore, you were not here for the purpose of the roll call. Have you joined the meeting? Doesn't look like it. So we will hold on this item until we can get Alderman Moore. All right, top of page 2. Document number A8734 in the 25th Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. The common address is 1810 South Allport Street, and the change request, RT4 Residential 2-Flat Townhouse and Multi-Unit District to C13 Neighborhood Commercial District. Alderman Byron Cicho Lopez. Byron.
Thank you, Chairman. The applicant has met the requirements and with our local zoning advisory board, and I do ask my colleagues for a favorable support on this item.
You're the Alderman. You're the applicant on this one. It's an aldermanic.
Oh, yes. I thought there was someone on the call, but if no one is there, we are helping a small homeowner who wants to be in compliance and is in. It is in code based on the consistency of zoning around the area. So we are helping the applicant. I thought someone was already on the call to explain, but I do ask my colleagues to support this item. It has been discussed with neighbors on the area. And again, this is to be in compliance for a small business, a small homeowner in the area.
All right, any questions for the Alderman? Can I get a motion to move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum? Alderman Kappelman makes that motion. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, the item is passed. Thank you, Alderman Lopez. Middle of page 2, document number A8732 in the 26th Ward. Ordinance was referred on October 25th of 2021. This common address, 2440 West Division Street, and the change request, B12 Neighborhood Shopping District to B11 Neighborhood Shopping District. Alderman Roberto Maldonado.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much for taking on this aldermanic zoning change. I'm requesting for this property to go back to its original zoning, which is a B1-1 from a B1-2. There was a zoning change back in 2015. The original owner flipped on the property, and because of that, we want to bring it back to its original zoning, consistent with the rest of the district along Division Street. I will ask for the committee to vote in favor of this request. Thank you.
Any questions for Alderman Maldonado in the 26th Ward? No questions.
Chairman.
Alderman Wagisback makes a motion, move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine.
I didn't get the opportunity to speak.
Oh. And you are who?
I'm Bogdan Popovich, the property owner.
Were you signed up for the public comment period?
Yes.
All right, I'm sorry. Did we? Okay. Before we entertain that motion, let's hear from Mr. Popovich.
Hi.
And only because committee members, he was on the public list. Okay, he's all right. Go ahead.
As I mentioned, I'm the current property owner. We bought the property on July 26th. We applied for permits on September 14th and were issued a building permit on October 15th. We have subsequently started construction on a project right away and only found out about the downzoning on October 27th. At this point, because we acquired the property with the zoning change in place and attained a construction loan and funding for the project as is, and have also started construction, this would cause a default situation and financial harm to us. And obviously, for that reason, I'm opposing the zoning downgrade. We are scheduled to meet with the alderman when he's available to discuss it. That's all I have for now.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond?
Of course you can. Alderman Maldonado.
Mr. Chairman, it is curious that his new owner decided to reach out to me after I introduced a zoning change. Took us by surprise, the proposed development, and that development is inconsistent with the rest of the district, although he does have a permit to build what he is asking to build. So down zoning the property back to its original zoning designation would not interfere whatsoever with what he's building right now. And I consulted this with Mr. Pat Murphy, and he's in complete agreement with my assessment of this matter. So this developer would not be affected by what he's trying to build right now. What he would not be able to do is to continue building under in the future under a B2, because the property would not be a B2, will be back into a B1. So if you want to ask Mr. Murphy any his comment, I'll be more than welcome to.
All right. So Alderman Maldonado, you're obviously very clear about this future development, and this permit will still be issued. It's already been issued. So this is consistent with the surrounding area, and it's not going to affect this particular objector. So with that, I'm going to renew and ask for a motion to move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum.
Alderman Wagasback renews
Alderman
the original
Wagasback
motion.
Renews his motion. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, this item is passed. All right.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I'm going to ask, I don't see committee member Walter Burnett on the call, so we're going to skip over the next item. And we will now be on page 3.
Go out of order.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to take a break for a second and move to page 5 at the request of Alderman Brookins. Okay. So let me read this into the record. It's document number, it's private application, number 20874 T1 in the 21st Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. The common address is 1223 West 87th Street. Change request, B31 Community Shopping District to B35 Community Shopping District. And we have the attorney, Dean Marigus. Dean, you want to speak on this item in the 21st Ward?
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, we can, Dean, and I know where you're at. So
okay, thank you. I'm here with Pastor Thomas Barkley and his assistant, Afina Jackson, and we have via Zoom the architect, Yana Tofan. What this is we are looking to immediately build a desperately needed youth center in the Autumn Gresham neighborhood. The alderman is 100% behind us, and we also have other public officials such as Justin Slaughter speaking for us. We are here to get the B35 because of the fact that the parking situation is this is what we qualify for, and this parking determination will be made via the zoning change that we effectuate. We will accept, we have a strong letter of support, which we've tendered to your office on September 27th. We have a confirmation on November 15th that you received Alderman Brookins' letter, and we open up ourselves for comments.
All right, Dean, I see you've got a great amount of support in the community, and of course the alderman. The reason for B35, just to reiterate, is there is going to be no parking for this youth center?
That is correct, sir. Yeah, we do not because of the activity that we have here, we need a B35 in order to save this project.
Okay. And it was a church, or was it on church property, or what was it? What is this?
Previously, this was an existing community home and group living facility.
Okay. All right. Well, I know we do have a strong letter of support from Alderman Brookins, and this sounds like a great project. I want any questions from committee members. Hearing none, can I get a motion to move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum? Alderman Carrie Austin makes that motion. Any objections to her motions? Her motion, I should say. Hearing none, the item is passed. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and all members of the community. On behalf of the children in the district, we thank you very much.
All righty. Thank you, Dean. Okay. All right. Now we're going back to the top of page 3. We are on document number 20871, T1 in the first ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. Common address, 1516 North Milwaukee Avenue, and the change request from a B32 community shopping district to C13 neighborhood commercial district. Chris Leach.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
We can. Proceed, Chris.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. My name is Chris Leach, and I am an attorney with Ackerman LLP with offices located at 71 South Wacker Drive. I'm appearing this morning on behalf of the applicant 1516 Milwaukee LLC in connection with the proposed Type 1 zoning amendment application. The subject property is located in the first ward and bears the common address of 1516 North Milwaukee Avenue. The applicant seeks a Type 1 zoning amendment from the B3-2 Community Shopping District to the C1-3 Neighborhood Commercial District to bring the existing 125-year-old mixed-use 3-story building in compliance with the Chicago zoning ordinance. The existing building consists of a tavern on the first floor with a rear outdoor patio and retractable awning, office space on the second floor, and third floor dwelling unit. Although interior changes are being made to a portion of the first floor, no changes are being made to the outdoor patio, nor to the existing envelope of the building, and no changes are being made to the second floor office space or third floor dwelling unit. This Type 1 zoning amendment is simply to bring the existing structure into compliance with the existing FAR of 2.336 and the existing height of approximately 41 feet. The applicant worked with Alderman Daniel Laspada's office going through the Alderman's community process of having the proposed amendment reviewed by the local neighborhood group and to obtain the support of the Alderman and the local community. Alderman Laspada has submitted a letter in support of this proposed amendment. And on behalf of the applicant, I would like to thank the Alderman for his support and respectfully ask for your favorable recommendation. And I stand ready to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. What's the name of the restaurant? Tavern.
Nick's.
Oh, okay. All right. And the purpose of this zoning change is literally an FAR issue because everything else is existing.
Yes, everything existing. What the they previously obtained a special use for the outdoor patio, and they have a retractable awning. When the awning is deployed, the Department of Zoning considers that to be enclosed space and requires FAR. We're not changing anything with the awning. It's still going to be there, but when it's out and deployed, they consider that to be enclosed space and requires FAR.
Okay.
So that's the reason.
Okay. Patrick, is that correct information?
Yes, sir, Chairman. That's how we would view the floor area impact. Yes, sir.
So any outdoor patio that may have a roof over it or some kind of temporary, what is
no, if they enclose the space.
Alderman, this particular rear patio is in between the two adjoining buildings, and it has a rear wall separating it from the alley and overhead CTA structure. So it has 3 walls around it, or actually 4 walls around it. So when you deploy the retractable awning, it's virtually enclosed.
Okay,
It's-
I get it. I get it. In the business, it just kind of made me ask those questions. So,
No,
appreciate it.
I'm happy to explain.
All right. Any other questions, committee members? We do have a letter of support from Alderman Laspada. Can I get a motion to move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum?
Alderman Kappelman so moves.
Alderman Kappelman makes the motion. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, the item is passed. Thank you, Chris. We're now moving to the middle of page 3. Document number 20870T1. In the 33rd Ward, ordinance was referred on November 17th, 2021. Common address 2900 West Belmont Avenue, also 3200 through 3210 North Francisco Avenue. The change request C11 Neighborhood Commercial District to B33 Community Shopping District. Chris Leach, you're on this one again.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Committee of Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Again, my name is Chris Leach. I'm an attorney with Ackerman LLP with offices located at 71 South Wacker Drive. I am appearing this morning on behalf of the applicant Buse Acquisitions LLC, in connection with the proposed Type 1 zoning amendment application. The subject property is located in the 33rd Ward and bears the common address of 2900 West Belmont Avenue and 3200 through 3210 North Francisco Avenue. The applicant seeks a Type 1 zoning amendment from the C1-1 Neighborhood Commercial District to the B3-3 Community Shopping District to allow an addition onto the rear of the existing mixed-use 3-story building to add a new exit stairway, an ADA bathrooms for the ground floor restaurant, a 1-story addition to the rear of the restaurant, adding additional indoor restaurant seating, and a rooftop patio to add additional outdoor seating. The rooftop patio will also require a special use permit should the proposed Type 1 zoning amendment be approved. The Type 1 zoning amendment will permit an FAR of 1.76, well below the FAR permitted under the B3-3 zoning district, 2 required parking spaces, and the existing building height of 47 feet 6 inches. The applicant worked with Alderwoman Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez's office, going through the Alderwoman's community process of sending out letters in English and in Spanish to the community, informing them of the proposed amendment, having the proposed amendment reviewed by the local neighborhood group to obtain the support of the Alderwoman and the community. Alderwoman Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez has submitted a letter of support of the proposed amendment. On behalf of the applicant, I would like to thank the Alderwoman for her support and respectfully request your favorable recommendation, and I stand ready to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chris. We do have letter of support from Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez. Any questions from committee members on this restaurant?
This one's for Kuma's Corner Restaurant.
Well, I'm going to be objecting to that because they left my ward. So, actually, I know where they started. They did start over there. So, we missed them in the 44th Ward. But anyways, I will be voting in support of this because the Alderwoman is supporting it and it's a great restaurant. Any other questions, comments? Can I get a motion to move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum?
So moved, Alderwoman Haddon.
Alderwoman Haddon makes that motion. Any objections to her motion? Hearing none, the item is passed. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bottom of page 3, document number 20876 in the 2nd Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. Common address 1402 West Chestnut Street, and the change request from an RS3 residential single unit detached house district to an RM 4.5 residential multi-unit district. We have the attorney Nick Fatikas on this item. Nick.
Good morning, Chairman. Again, Nick Fatikas from the law office of Campaign.
Nick, you might want to increase your volume.
I apologize. I will do that right now. Is
All right,
that
you're
better?
good. Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay, so yes, as you indicated, we are asking for a zoning change for the property at 1402 West Chestnut from RS3 to RM 4.5 in order to develop the property with a new four-story, three-unit. Sorry. A new four-story, three-unit residential building. On-site parking for 3 cars will be provided at the rear of the subject lot. We did work with Alderman Hopkins on this proposal, and there should already be a letter of support on file with staff. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you or the committee members might have about the project.
Right. We do have a letter of support from Alderman Hopkins. Any questions by committee members? Hearing none, can I get a motion to move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum? Is Alderwoman Carrie Austin makes that motion. Any objections to her motion? Hearing none, this item has been passed, will be passed. All right, top of page 4. We are on document number 20878 in the 47th Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. Common address 1838 West Gray Street, and the change request from an RS3 residential single unit detached house district to an RM 4.5 residential multi-unit district. Nick, you're on board on this one in the 47th Ward?
Yes, sir. Again, for the record, Nick Fatikas from the Law Offices of Sam Banks. I'm here on behalf of the applicant and property owner, P3 Properties LLC, 1838 Grace series. The owners are proposing to redevelop the 6,256 square foot site with a new 6-unit residential building. The proposed building will be 43 feet, 8 inches in height, and it will be supported by 6 on-site parking spaces at the rear of the lot. In this case, we worked with the 47th Ward Zoning Advisory Committee, as well as Alderman Matt Martin, and there should already be a letter of support from the alderman on file with staff. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you or the committee members might have about the project.
We do have a letter of support from Alderman Martin. Any questions by committee members? If not, can I get a motion to move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum?
Chairman, move to pass. Alderman Wagasback.
Wagasback makes the motion. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, this item is passed. All right, middle of page 4, we're going to hold on this one until Alderman Hopkins returns. He would like to make a comment on the 1628 through 30 North Wells. So I'm going to put a hold on that one, and we're going to move to the bottom of page 4. Document number 20872, 5th Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. This common address, 5700 through 5702 South Woodlawn Avenue, and the change request, RM5 residential multi-unit district to a B12 neighborhood shopping district. We have Lenny Asaro, I believe, on the call on this one in the 5th Ward. Lenny?
Thank you, Chairman Tunney and members of the committee. My name is Lenny Asaro. I'm an attorney partner at Faegre Drinker Biddle and Reith at 311 South Wacker Drive, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. I appear before you today on behalf of the applicant, Chabad of Hyde Park, who is the property owner. The applicant uses the property for religious assembly known as Rohr Chabad at University of Chicago. Rohr Chabad is led by Rabbi Yossi Brackman and his wife, Bela Brackman, who are the on-site directors. The applicant seeks to rezone the property from RM5 to B1-2 to allow for an addition to the existing building in the rear yard. The addition will be a community center use. The addition will be approximately 2,400 square feet with a height of approximately 17 feet. If this application is approved, the applicant will then need to take the next step, which is to obtain the ZBA's approval of a special use for the community center use and off-site parking in a lot owned by the University of Chicago. Alderman Hairston has provided a letter of support dated December the 8th, 2021. The adjacent property owner, Mr. Larry Strickling, and the applicant will be entering into a land use restriction agreement and recording a restrictive covenant to preclude use of the subject property for permitted commercial uses with an exception in connection with, in the event that this application is approved. The restriction is referenced in the alderman's letter of support. And I'm happy to answer any and all questions.
Lenny, would you make sure the committee gets a copy of the support letter from Alderwoman Hairston, please?
Yes, Chairman. I actually emailed it to Raymond yesterday evening, and I'm happy to resend it.
All right, try it again, just so we make sure we have it before the city council meeting. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Any questions for the applicant on this one in the 5th ward? As I say, I will note that we are going to make sure that the letter of support from Alderman Hairston is there before reported out to committee.
Thank you,
All right.
Chairman. I just resent it to Raymond.
Okay, great. Questions, comments from committee members? Hearing none, can I get a motion move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum? Let's see. Vice Chair,
Motion-
who is
Motion
that?
to pass, Chairman, Alderman Wagisback.
Alderman Wagisback makes the motion move to pass. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, the item is passed. Again, with the caveat that I'm going to make sure that we have that letter on file. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Be well, everyone.
All right. Top of page 5. We have document number 20877 in the 15th ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. Common address is 1907 West Garfield Boulevard. The change request from an RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse district to an RM 4.5 residential multi-unit district. We have Sarah Barnes. Sarah?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Sarah Barnes, and I'm an attorney with the law offices of Sam Banks. I'm happy to be here this morning on behalf of the applicant, Hamilton Grove Properties Incorporated, who recently acquired the subject property, which is improved with a 3-story with a basement, 3-unit residential building. Unfortunately, the prior owner of the building significantly neglected the property and ultimately abandoned it, at which time the applicant came in and acquired the property. The units were in deplorable condition and actually had multiple building code violations. So the building has been vacated, and the applicant is seeking to do a gut renovation of all of the dwelling units to bring them up to current standards, as well in an effort to provide some more affordable housing for the community. The applicant is proposing to build out the basement of the existing building, which is more than 50% above grade, and to provide an additional dwelling unit in the basement. Unfortunately, the subject property is not located in one of the recognized pilot areas pursuant to the current additional dwelling unit ordinance, so we were not able to avail ourselves to those considerations. This particular applicant does work with the Veterans Association, so all 4 of the dwelling units will be provided as affordable housing for veterans. With that, we did reach out to Alderman Lopez, and we met with the 15th Ward Business License and Zoning Committee, who is in support of the subject proposal. As well, we tendered a copy of a letter of support from Alderman Lopez to the committee yesterday. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and I believe that Alderman Lopez is still in the hearing if he wishes to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Alderman Raymond Lopez. Raymond? Sarah, I think he might have stepped out for a minute. You have a letter of support? We do have a letter of
Yes, it's been
support.
tendered. Thank you.
All right, any questions, comments from committee members? If not, can I get a motion to move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum? Alderman Kappelman makes the motion. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, the item is passed. Sarah, on the way out, I just want to tell you, I've been on West Garfield. It needs as much help as it can get. So it's amazing that you're doing 4 affordable units for veterans.
Believe it or not, I actually went over there too.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's
And Garfield
and
Garfield is better than some of the surrounding residents.
I would agree. And this applicant is actually reactivating a lot of the properties over there. So I commend them as well. Thank you. And I will pass along your regards, and everyone have a happy holiday and stay safe out there.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Now we're going to move to the top of page 6. Document number 20881 in the 26th Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. Common address is 654 North Tallman Avenue. And the change request from an RS3 residential single unit detached house district to an RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse district. We have Tom Moore on the call.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. This is a case, the applicant is Gustavo Siller. Mr. Siller moved to Chicago with his family when he was a baby from Mexico. A few years later, his family bought this 2-flat. It's been a 2-flat for since the 1970s when they moved in. In 2006, when his second parent died and his sister took over the building, the city issued a zoning certificate or whatever it's now called. And so Mr. Siller was surprised when he went to renovate the 2-flat that the city said that the ground floor unit is a store and was converted illegally. So he has plans. He hired an architect. He wants to renovate both the upstairs and the downstairs. There'd be no external changes. It's all an internal renovation. But since it's only a 100 by 24 size lot, to have 2 units there, compliant and legal, would take an R4. And so we met with Alderman Maldonado, and we talked to the neighbors. We're aware of no objections. We have a letter from Alderman Maldonado. Mr. Siller promised to try to market the 2 units to the local community. And with that, we have his support, and we'd request your support.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Alderman Raymond Lopez, do you have a question on this item?
No, Chairman, I thought I was responding to a call for my name. Sorry.
We did pass 1907 West Garfield.
Perfect. Thank you. My apologies.
No problem. All right. And actually, Raymond, it sounds like a fabulous project with 4 units on Garfield for veterans. So amazing. Good.
Yes, it will be. Thank you, and I appreciate your and the committee's indulgence on passing this great project for the West Englewood community. Thank you.
All right. So on the Tallman application with Mr. Moore, we do have a letter of support from Alderman Maldonado. Any questions, comments from committee members? Hearing none, can I get a motion to move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum?
So moved, Alderwoman Hadden.
Alderwoman Hadden makes the motion. Any objections to her motion? Hearing none, this item is passed. All right.
Thank you
Moving
very much.
on, page 6, middle of page 6, document number 20880, 29th Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. Common address is 1 through 31 North Central Avenue, 5500 through 5536 West Madison Street, and 2 through 38 North Pine Street. The change request from an RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse district to a B32 community shopping district. We have Steve Friedland on this application. Steve?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Steve Friedland with the law firm of Applegate and Thorne Thompson. I am here on behalf of the Westside Health Authority, which is a not-for-profit corporation, and we should also have on the call their CEO, Morris Reed. This is an exciting project. You can probably just go to the next slide. I wanted to show slides because it's pretty exciting redevelopment of the former Robert Emmett School, which is at Madison Avenue between Central and Pine. And the purpose of the rezoning is to allow the school to be redeveloped as a mixed-use building that will have business support services in it, including workforce training. There will be office uses, other social service uses, banking is intended to be in the building, and possibly some retail. Right now, the project is expecting to have as some tenants the Jane Addams Resource Center, which will do workforce training, an organization called Austin Coming Together, which is a not-for-profit on the West Side, will be there. Westside Health Authority will have its offices there. And as you can see from the site plan, there's going to be significant parking. I would say if you just go to the next slide, just because this is really, I think, a beautiful site. What they've done is they're going to, currently the school has its entrance off of Pine, and they're going to reorient that to the west side of the building. And there's basically a sawtooth in the middle of the building that the West Side Health Authority is going to build this sort of atrium entrance, which should really be a spectacular view from the neighborhood. Again, the requested rezoning is to go from RT4 to a B3-2 to allow these business uses. We've met with Alderman Taliaferro. I believe the committee has a letter from the alderman in support, and we'd be happy to take any questions you might have. I'll add one last thing, which is this development was a finalist for the Chicago Prize that's sponsored by the Pritzker Traubert Foundation. So it really has some strong backing behind
it. Thank you, Steve. Steve, normally you're in front of us in Plan Commission and subsequent zoning. Why was this not in front of the Plan Commission?
It didn't require a plan development because the existing building is there, so it's not any new construction, and it's not even a type 1 rezoning because it's going from an RT4 to a -2. So there's no housing associated with this, Alderman. This is all business.
It's exciting. I just it's an 80 some thousand square foot
correct
renovation. Obviously. We do have a letter of support from Alderman Taliaferro. This is an exciting project, adaptive reuse of, unfortunately, a school. But it seems like it'll do a lot of training and educational components in its own way.
Absolutely.
Questions, comments from members of the committee? Hearing none, can I get a motion move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum? That's Alderman Kappelman makes the motion to move to pass. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, the item is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bottom of page 6. Document number 20873 in the 31st Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. Common address is 4832 West Berry Avenue. And the change request from an RS3 residential single unit detached house district to an RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse district. We have Pedro Cervantes.
Chairman, this is Alderman Dowell. Will you mark me down for a quorum?
Yes, Alderman Dowell. Thank you and welcome. We are on the bottom of page 6, FYI, and we're in the 31st Ward. Pedro, do you want to talk about this project?
Sure, yes, thank you. Good morning, Chairman Tunney and Vice Chairman Reborias and the members of the committee. My name is Pedro Cervantes. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Tristan and Cervantes. I'm here today on behalf of the applicant, Ramiro Benitez. The applicant is the owner of the property located at 4832 West Berry Avenue, and he currently resides on the first floor unit with his family. The subject property has approximately 3,754 square feet of floor space and is currently a two-story residential property that currently consists of 2 dwelling units, one on the first floor and one on the second floor. And then there's also a basement lower level. The applicant is seeking a zoning change to permit the addition of a 3rd dwelling unit in the lower basement level of the subject property. The lower unit will primarily be used to care for the Benitez family's son who has some medical conditions, and they want to be able to better care for him, and the accessibility of the first floor unit makes that easier. So they will continue to reside there. There is also a 3rd space for a 3rd parking space. In order to permit the ability to add the 3rd floor dwelling unit, the applicant is seeking a zoning change from an RS3 residential single unit district to an RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse and multi-unit district classification. The applicant has worked with the alderman and local neighbors. We have provided the chairman's office with a letter of support from Alderman Cordona, and we're unaware of any objections from any neighbors. Based on that, we ask that the committee members support the passing of this item. Thank you, and I can answer any questions.
We do have a letter of support from Alderman Cardona, and this is not in a pilot area, correct?
Correct.
All right. Questions, comments from committee members? Hearing none, can I get a motion to move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum?
Alderman Kappelman moves to pass.
Alderman Kappelman makes the motion. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, this item is passed. Now we're on top of page 7. And we are on document number 20882 T1, 33rd Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. Common address is 3024 West Irving Park Road. And the change request, B23 Neighborhood Mixed Use District to B23 Neighborhood Mixed Use District. So Mark Kupiak, would you like to discuss this item?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
I'm sorry, Agnes. Once again, I made that mistake. So Agnes, can you, on behalf of Mark's office, please present this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, good morning. Esteemed members of the committee, Agnes Pleka on behalf of the applicant, Irving Park Ventures LLC. This is a fairly straightforward zoning change. This property actually has been subject to a prior type 1 zoning change back in 2018. And this is an existing 4-story residential building with existing 4 dwelling units and a large community room / area on the ground floor. And the applicant is proposing substitution of those previously approved type 1 plans and narrative so that he can convert that existing common room area to 1 additional dwelling unit. All the changes, revisions will be just interior. There are no additional floor area being added. There are no changes to the exterior envelope of the building. Existing height stays the same. And the only difference is that we have to comply with the MLA. And even though the existing -3 allows for the 5th unit, because we had different narrative in that prior zoning change, now we're making that substitution. So the applicant has worked closely with Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez, talked to the neighbors, the existing owners of the other 4 units, and received their support. I believe you should have Alderman's letters of support on file as well. So we are respectfully asking for your support as well for this zoning change.
Thank you, Agnes. We do have a letter of support from Alderman Rodriguez Sanchez. And just obviously it's pretty straightforward. My only question is, you have 5 dwelling units and how many parking spaces?
We have 4 parking spaces. So I discussed it with the zoning department. Most likely the applicant will have to submit application for the variation. Although we believe that this is a good spot. We are not strictly speaking TSL location, but this is a very good TSL almost served property. We have bus stop in front of the building. We have a CDA station 1 mile to the west. That's the blue line. We have 1 mile northeast Brown Station. So it's a very well served location.
I'm sure this is met with the community's support, and we do have the alderman's support.
Thank you so much.
Questions from committee members, comments? Hearing none, can I get a motion to move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum?
Move to pass. Alderman Wagisback.
Wagisback makes that motion. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, this item is passed.
Thank you
Middle
so
of-
much.
Thank you, Agnes. Middle of page 7. Document number 20865 T1 41st Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th, 2021. This common address is 5840 through 5856 Northwest Highway. And the change request from M11 Limited Manufacturing Business Park District to M21 Light Industry District. We have Paul Kolpak on this item in the 41st Ward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Paul Kolpak with offices at 6767 North Milwaukee Avenue. Represent the applicant, Catcorp Properties LLC. As Chairman mentioned, we're requesting zoning change from that of M1-1 to that of M2-1. My client purchased this property mistakenly thinking that his use was allowed in the M1 district. When he went for his building permit, when he went for his business license, they indicated to him that it was not zoned properly. We then appeared in front of the 41st Ward Advisory Committee, and they requested, they approved the request to go to the M2-1 type 1, so that there would be no changes to the building whatsoever, and the 18 parking spaces would remain. As part of our agreement with the 41st Ward and with the alderman, that once he receives his business license, that we would appear in front of this committee to downzone the property back to the existing, predominant zoning district. We received the letter of support from the alderman's office this morning. We did send them to Nicole and to Raymond this morning, and I believe they should be in the file.
Paul, we do have them on file at the committee. So the alderman is supportive of this change. Do we have any questions, comments from committee members? Hearing none, can I get a motion to move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum? The motion is made by Alderwoman Dowell. Any objections to her motion? Hearing none, the item is passed. Now we're moving on to the bottom of page 7. We are on document number 20883, 41st Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. Common address of this item is 6534 through 6538 North Milwaukee Avenue. And the change request from an RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse and multi-unit district to a C21 motor vehicle related commercial district. Paul, you're on again on this item in 41.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Paul Kolpak, his office is 6767 North Milwaukee Avenue. As a matter of housekeeping, we had conversations with Mr. Murphy. We submitted a substitute ordinance changing the request from the RT4 to that of a B1-1. Based on my client's use, Mr. Murphy felt that this was a better classification for the proposed zoning. This is again the same thing. The property was zoned. The client bought the property. The property has a history.
Wait a second, Paul.
I'm sorry.
Are we asking to accept a substitute?
Yes, we are.
Okay, let's get that underway.
Motion to accept the substitute, Chairman. Alderman
All right.
Wagisback.
So Alderman Wagisback moves to accept the substitute by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections? None. And the substitute is before us, again, from an RT4 now to a B11, correct?
Correct.
Okay, continue.
This property has a history. It's not far from my office. While it's zoned RT4, for the last 30 years, it's been used as a non-conforming use to assemble clothing. When the client bought this property, he assumed that his cleaning storage business would be allowed at that site. Again, when he went in for his business license, he was told that he had to rezone it. After our meeting with Mr. Murphy, the appropriate zoning was B1-1. We didn't appear in front of the 41st Ward Advisory Committee. They gave us their support. We do have a letter of support from the alderman, which again was delivered this morning to Raymond and to Nicole. I'm prepared to answer any questions.
Paul, we have received also the letter from Alderman Napolitano. Any questions, comments from committee members? If not, can I get a motion to move due pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum?
Alderwoman Haddon moves to pass.
Alderwoman Haddon makes the motion, move due pass. Any objections to her motion? Hearing none, this item is passed as revised. As
Everybody
amended.
be well. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right. Top of page 8. Document number 20879, 49th Ward. Ordinance was referred on November 17th of 2021. Common address is 1416 through 1420 West Morse Avenue. And the change request, B33 Community Shopping District, C13 Neighborhood Commercial District. Tyler Manick in the 49th Ward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tyler Manick of Shane Banks, Kenny and Schwartz. I'm here on behalf of the applicant Galileo Inc., who intends to lease the storefront at 1416 to 1420 West Morse in order to operate a boutique beer, wine, and liquor store. The applicant is a local small business owner that intends to take over the existing liquor store, which was grandfathered in under the existing zoning as a legal non-conforming use. By changing owners, the applicant seeks a zoning map amendment, which will bring the use into a conforming zoning district of C13. That will allow the applicant to make substantial renovations while preserving the existing building in order to uplift a vital commercial corridor in Rogers Park with an improved storefront. In September of this year, the applicant engaged in a community meeting that garnered 80% support of the nearby residents polled in the community through an online survey. Based on the community feedback and the improvements to the store, Alderwoman Haddon has given the applicant her letter of support, which the Committee on Zoning has received prior to this hearing. With the support of Alderwoman Haddon, I respectfully request this committee's recommendation to pass a zoning map amendment that changes zoning of 1416 to 1420 West Morse from a B33 community shopping district to a C13 neighborhood commercial district, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We do have a letter of support from Alderwoman Haddon, but she might want to say a few words on the upgrade. It seems to be of a packaged liquor store.
Thanks,
Maria?
Chairman. This was the applicant and Tyler were a pleasure to work with on this project. Again, as Tyler stated, there currently is a liquor store there. The longtime owner. We're looking forward, the community's looking forward to upgrades coming to this space. The applicant went through our community zoning process and received very favorable support. So looking forward to the new investments and hoping I'll get my colleagues' support on this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Any questions for the applicant, for the Alderwoman?
Motion to pass if there's no question, Chairman. Alderman Wagasback.
Alderman Wagasback makes the motion, move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, the item is passed. And
thank you,
Alderwoman. I'll see you on Morse. You know where I'll be at. So
it's just down the street from south of the border.
I know it is, and he has told me of his support also. So. All right, thank you. All right, middle of page 8, document number 20854 in the second ward. Do we have Alderman Hopkins on here? Okay, great. All right, 20854 second ward. Ordinance was referred on October 14th of 2021. Common address 2032 North Clybourne Avenue. Change request from an M12 limited manufacturing business park district and an M22 light industry district, all to a B33 community shopping district, and then to a residential business and development. Katie Janke Dale on this item.
Great, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, Katie Janke Dale from the law firm of DLA Piper, located at 444 West Lake Street. We represent the applicant Annexation LLC. As a preliminary matter, this application was considered and recommended for approval at the November 18th, 2021 Plan Commission hearing We would request that the records from that hearing be incorporated into the record today.
And Wagasback moves to incorporate the records from the Plan Commission by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections to that motion? Hearing none, the records are incorporated. Continue.
Thank you. The site is an existing building on an approximately 2-acre site at the southwest corner of Clybourne and Magnolia. It's currently zoned M12 and M22, and we're requesting a rezoning to the B33 district prior to establishing a residential business plan development. The overall project will contain 136 dwelling units and 86 parking spaces, along with ground floor commercial space. The project is subject to the 2021 ARO, and the applicant will be providing 7 units on site at 30% AMI and paying a fee in lieu of $1.8 million for the remaining units. We met with the Sheffield Neighborhood Association, who embraced the project, and worked with DPD and its Historic Preservation Bureau. In addition to a very positive hearing in front of the Plan Commission in November, the project and the proposed landmark designation have been heard by and received a positive recommendation from the Landmarks Commission and its Permit Review Committee. We'd like to thank Alderman Hopkins and DPD for their support and input throughout this process, and we'd respectfully request a positive recommendation of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Alderman Hopkins, are you on this Clybourne renovation, sir?
I am, Mr. Chairman. I have a letter of support on file for this. As council mentioned, we do have a letter from the Sheffield Neighborhood Association. We had 2 community meetings, a large one and a small breakout session. This project was widely embraced. We're very excited to be able to save this building. It was originally listed as a character building, and it is evolving towards a landmark structure that will be preserved. So this is an outstanding project. I'm pleased to offer my full support, and I would urge an aye vote and offer a do pass motion at this time.
All right, questions for the alderman? Obviously, I think it's a great adaptive reuse on a very busy Clybourne corridor, and having retail on the bottom, I think, will be a success. Questions, comments other than that? None? If not, can I get a motion to move do pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum?
I'll second that motion that Alderman Hopkins made, Chairman.
All right, Alderman Hopkins and for that matter, Alderman Wagasback make the motion. Any objections to the motions? Hearing none, this item is passed as revised.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
All right, Brian, we're going to stay on with you. We're going back to middle of page 4. I'll read it into the record. This is the Wells project. It's number 20628 T1 in the 2nd Ward. Ordinance was referred on February 24th of 2021. Common address is 1628 through 1630 North Wells Street. And the change request from a B11 neighborhood shopping district to B35 community shopping district. Alderman Hopkins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Wait, so we have
Alderman Burnett is here.
Okay, so Alderman Hopkins, you wanted to speak on this item, sir.
Yeah, just briefly, Mr. Chairman, I would request a motion to defer this to a time certain, that being the first zoning meeting of this committee in January, at which time members of the community will appear to testify on this project, and also, of course, counsel for the applicant will make a presentation. So I would move to defer till that next meeting.
Okay, so Alderman Hopkins moves to defer this item by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections to that? All right, hearing no objections, this item will be deferred, date certain, January zoning meeting. All right. Yeah, I see we have Alderman Burnett on the call. So we're going to go back to some of his items. All right. I just want to keep my. All right. Now, let me read it into the record. Bottom of page 2, document number A8730 in the 27th Ward. Ordinance was referred on October 24th, 2021. And there's an aldermanic change by Alderman Burnett, and the change request is to classify a segment of the West Fulton Market, West Fulton Street, and West Randolph Street rights of way as pedestrian street from the center line of North Elizabeth Street on the west and the center line of North Halsted on the east along West Fulton Market, and the center line of North Ogden Avenue on the west and the center line of North Elizabeth Street on the east along West Fulton Street. And finally, the center line of North Ada Street on the west and the center line of North Halsted Street on the east along West Randolph Street. All right. Alderman Burnett on this item for a pedestrian street designation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. This is something that myself and the Department of Planning have been working on along with transportation to have a pedestrian street over in this area. As you know, this area has evolved and changed to be an area where you have a lot of walking traffic. We think this would be appropriate for this area. I ask for the committee support.
Thank you, Alderman. Any questions for the Alderman on this pedestrian street designation? Hearing none,
Move
can
to
I get
pass.
Alderman? Hearing no questions, Alderman Hopkins.
Move to pass, Alderman Lopez.
Well, we got Alderman Hopkins makes the motion, move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, the item is passed. Now we're going to go to, where are we going, page 8?
Unless Alderman Damon Morris.
Okay. Bottom of page 8. Document number 20674, 28th Ward. Ordinance was referred on April 21st of 2021. This common addresses are 138 through 148 South Croy Street, 3137 through 3159 West 5th Avenue, 201 through 213 South Kedzie Avenue, 117 through 137 South Kedzie Avenue, and 3138 through 3158 West 5th Avenue. And the change request, C13, Neighborhood Commercial District to Planned Development. And we have Carol Stubblefield on this item in the 28th Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the committee. For the record, Carol Stubblefield with Neil and Leroy, offices at 20 South Clark, here on behalf of the applicant, the preservation of affordable housing. With me today are representatives from POA and our project architects to answer any questions. Mr. Chairman, this matter was heard and unanimously approved at the November 18, 2021 Chicago Plan Commission. And we ask that the findings and conclusions of the Chicago Plan Commission and all documents given to the Department of Planning and Development be adopted into today's record.
Chairman, Alderman Wagasback moves to accept all those Plan Commission files and documents.
Alderman Wagasback
To the
moves to
record.
incorporate the records from the Plan Commission by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections to that motion? Hearing none, the records are incorporated. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant proposes to rezone the property from the C13 to a residential business plan development to construct a mixed-use campus with retail space and a maximum of 82 dwelling units. The project is located in the East Garfield Park community area and is generally located at South Kedzie Avenue and West 5th Avenue. The property is a transit served location with the Kedzie Station CTA Blue Line 0.25 miles south and the CTA Station CTA Green Line 0.4 miles north of the property. The project will be constructed in phases. Phase 1 is located at the southeast corner of West 5th Avenue and South Kedzie Avenue and will include a maximum of 50 dwelling units, ground floor commercial space, 15 parking spaces, and 36 bike spaces. Phase 2 is located on the northeast corner of West 5th Avenue and South Kedzie Avenue and will include 32 dwelling units with commercial ground floor space and 17 parking spaces. The applicant has complied with all notice requirements and obtained the required approvals from CDOT, Fire, and MOPD. The project will also comply with the city's goals for diversity and minority participation, sustainability, and stormwater management policies. This is an affordable housing project and will meet the city's goals for providing at least 20% of the units, affordable units on site. Phase 1 construction is anticipated to start in the second quarter of 2022 and be completed in the second quarter of 2023. The project's going to create approximately 150 temporary construction jobs, and the team has worked closely with Alderman Irvin on this project, and they have gained the full support of the community and the alderman. That completes our testimony today, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We do have Alderman Irvin on the call on this exciting project in his ward. Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This project is a great investment in the East Garfield Park community. We have really gone through great community vetting of this project. We find that this, again, with the affordable housing, the ability for phase 2 to be a housing cooperative, I think it brings something for everyone in our community and gives people a great place to stay and an opportunity to stay in a community that is definitely going through the stages of gentrification. So we definitely support this and look forward to the committee support of this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. I know I was on Plan Commission's very exciting project for your ward. Any questions, comments from committee members? Hearing none, can I get?
No questions. This is
All right.
Alderman David Moore. I want to be recorded as here and pass due on this item.
All right.
And
Thank you,
also,
David. Okay,
and I-
so you'll be recognized for the quorum, and you're making the motion to move, do, pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum, correct?
That is correct, Chairman.
All right.
And if I
Any-
can raise my hand to another question after you finish this.
Yeah, well, let me get this approved, and then stay on for your next question. All right. So Alderman Moore makes the motion, move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections to his motion? Hearing none, this item is passed in the 28th ward as revised.
Thank you, member.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jason. Congratulations to the team. All right,
Thank you.
Alderman David Moore.
Yes, if I can ask the body, that was an item that you held
Yes,
because
sir.
I wasn't on.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Are you
so that
ready
we
to
can bring
speak
that
on the
back
item,
up?
David? Are you ready?
Yes.
'Cause we'll bring it up now if that's your request.
Yes, thank you, Chairman.
Okay, so going back to page 1. It's an Aldermanic 8721, 17th Ward. Ordinance was referred on September 14th of 2021. The common address is 7301 South Levitt, 2205 West 71st Street, and 2150 West 73rd Street. The change request is an RS2 residential single unit detached house district to a T transportation district. Alderman David Moore.
Yes, thank you, Chairman of this committee. This item is part of the whole entire CREATE project that we're working on with the state of Illinois, the county, and the city has some money in it as well. And in that area, they'll be putting a overpass up so that cars can get through, so they won't be held up by the trains. And so we just needed that designation to complete, so we can start this job. So I asking for the full consideration of this body on this item.
Thank you, Alderman. Any questions for David Moore? Hearing no questions, Alderman Wagasback makes the motion to move, do, pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections? Hearing none, the item's passed. All right.
Thank you.
Now we're on to page, I believe, top of page 9. So I'm going to ask Chairman Wagasback if you would take over for this item in the 41st or 44th ward, excuse me. Scott, are you on
Yes,
the
sir.
call for this one, please?
Yes, I'm ready. So ladies and gentlemen, moving on to page 9, item number 20813 in the 44th ward. Ordinance was referred on September 14th, 21. Common address known as 524 to 628 West Diversity Parkway and 2801 to 2807 North Broadway. Applicant and owner is Lincoln Park Plaza Lofts LLC. The attorney here today will be Taylor Barbarian from Thompson and Coburn. And this is a change request for residential business plan development 306 in the 44th Ward, as amended to residential business plan development 306 as amended. And the applicant seeks to revise the existing plan for PD 306 by eliminating the permitted proposed 8-story residential building and replacing it with a single-story commercial development. I want to ask first for a motion to incorporate the records from the Plan Commission by the same roll call used to establish or to determine quorum. Alderman Kappelman moves to pass to incorporate those records. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, that motion passes and the records are incorporated. Chairman Tunney, this is your item. Would you like to speak to it?
Well, what I do is refer to the attorney first.
Okay.
So that's
Good morning, members. Members of the committee, my name is Taylor Barbarian and from Thompson Coburn with offices at 55 East Monroe. As stated, this is an application to amend an existing plan development, and it's actually in order to legalize, permit what is there today. The applicant, Lincoln Park Plaza Loft LLC, is eager to get a tenant in the existing commercial space on the property. And this amendment will simply permit them to do that legally. The plans for the larger 8-story residential building atop this commercial space are no longer moving forward. And so we are taking the step to clean up the ordinance and make sure that the ordinance reflects what is there. We presented this project before the community group, Southeast Lakeview Neighbors. We were also before Plan Commission. Both bodies were in support of the proposal, and we have also worked closely with Alderman Tunney's office throughout this process to make sure that they are updated and apprised of our progress, and we have their support as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I have no further presentation.
Right. Are there any questions for Ms. Barbarian? And apologies, Talar.
That's okay.
Or Alderman Tunney. All right. Seeing how there are no questions.
well. Let me, Scott.
Oh,
Let me just say.
Tom, go
let me just
ahead.
say- Let me just say a few words on this one.
All yours.
Premium corner on the north side, Clark Diversey, and it's amazing. You know, we actually labored through this project about 10 years ago. It was more controversial building an 8-story annex to Lincoln Park Plaza, but we did receive the community support on that. That project is being scrapped, and we're changing. We're obviously eliminating that development and just remodeling the existing first floor commercial space, and that will be the only interior changes only. And it's public knowledge at this point that it's going to have a Foxtrot upscale grocery store in there. I think it's scheduled to open tomorrow. So that being said, I ask for the committee's support on this relatively minor change. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Let's see. May I have a motion to pass this item as amended?
So move, Alderman Kappelman.
Thank you, Alderman Kappelman. Alderman Kappelman moves to pass this item as amended by the same roll call used to establish quorum. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion passes. And I will hand the chair back to
Scott, the motion passes as revised, correct?
as revised. Yes, as amended or as revised. Correct.
All right.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Let me chair your finance committee every once in a while, okay, Scott?
No
How about
problem.
that? On the easy stuff, all right? No. All right. Okay, middle of page 9, document number 19496T1 in the second ward. Ordinance was referred on January 17th of 18. Okay, Common address is 1400 North Paulina. The change request, RT4 residential 2-flat townhouse district and multi-unit district, all to an RM 4.5 residential multi-unit district. We have Dan Lauer in this item on the second floor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. You can hear me, right?
Correct. Proceed,
Okay.
Dan. Mhm.
This is 1400 North Paulina. Application number is pretty old, 19496T1, represent Whittemore Properties LLC. This is about the funniest lot you've ever seen. It's 48 by 40, and it was created by the Triangle of North Paulina, just north of the Milwaukee Avenue Jewel, if you're familiar, and then a side street called Dean. And the proposal is RT4 to RM 4.5 to maintain 2 existing dwelling units there. So this process started in 2018, and the Wicker Park Committee approved it overwhelmingly, but there was substantial pushback from the Westtown Terrace Loft Condo Association, which is directly north. The owner lost the will to move forward with it. It was rented out for several years. And then there was a very large casualty loss earlier this year, Mr. Chairman. And so there was no choice except to move forward with the proposal. First, I'd like to thank Nicole Wellhausen and Anna Robles for helping me republish and get this back on track. And then sincere thanks to Brian Pellerine and of course Alderman Hopkins from the second ward, because they scheduled a community meeting at the property itself on October 21st and worked through the issues with all the neighbors, many of which were, really in favor. But they've arranged an agreement where the new building under type 1 would be limited only to 25 feet as opposed to 38 feet, which would be of right under RT4. Obviously, the property has to go to the ZBA for yard issues in the future. But we're just really grateful to the Alderman Hopkins to get us to this point.
Okay. All right. So I think we have Alderman Hopkins on the call on this one. All right. Brian, are you on the call? All right. Well, let's start on this. Let's start on this one anyways. First of all, we need to accept the substitute narrative and plans for the type 1 application. Alderman Raboyes makes that motion to accept the substantive narrative and plans for the type 1 application by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections? Okay, hearing none, the substantive narrative and plans are accepted. All right, now, do we have someone from the second ward office on the call?
Brian Pellerine for the record.
All right, Brian, would you like, I think my staff says we do have a letter of support from Alderman Hopkins, but would you like to comment on this project?
I don't know that we actually provided a letter. I will echo what Dan had to say about the community meeting and the working through issues with the neighbor at 1402. There were definitely a number of concerns that we have worked with Dan to address, and think that this project has gotten to a much better place from that process than it initially may have. Alderman Hopkins is in support of this. Thank you.
And that's not good for the state. All right. Okay, so you've heard from the Alderman's office. Obviously, it's a very unique property. And I hate to judge what the casualty was, but I think I kind of know probably happened. That being said, any questions, comments? Committee members? If not, I could get a motion to move to pass the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Alderwoman Haddon makes the motion. Any objections to her motion? Hearing none, this item is passed with the substantive narrative and plans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Hold on once. I'm going to hold 1 second here for a second before we get on to our last item in the 41st ward. All right, we're back. Thank you. I'm going to call on Alderwoman Haddon. She's going to. Alderwoman Haddon.
Thanks, Chair. Chairman, in accordance with the notice given in the agenda, I wanted to move to amend the motion adopted at the June 2021 committee meeting to defer item number 2021-1953 until February 2022, to instead defer this item to today's meeting.
So Alderwoman
Second.
Haddon, Alderwoman Haddon.
Second.
Has moved to amend the previously adopted motion to defer this item to February 22 and to instead defer it to this item to today's meeting. All right, so that Haddon made it, was seconded. So let me just, for the benefit of the committee member, a yes. Hold on a second. Chairwoman, or not Chairwoman, Alderwoman Haddon, you want to continue? And it's a yes vote is in favor of Alderwoman Haddon's motion to amend the previous deferral motion to enable us to consider this item today. A no vote would mean that we will not hear this item today. I will now call the roll to determine whether we hear this item today.
Chairman,
Again.
before,
Okay, Alderman Raymond Lopez. Vote.
thank you, Chairman. I move to lay Alderman Haddon's motion on the table, please.
Well, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, we have the motion on the table has been seconded for the roll call. So we need to do that motion first. All right, again, yes vote is in favor to amend the previous deferral motion to enable us to consider the item today. That's a yes vote. A no vote means we will not hear this item today. So we'll start with the roll call. Vice Chair Raboyes. All right, Alderman Hopkins. I'm sorry, is that Alderman Hopkins? Maybe it was somebody else. Alderman Pat Dow. Alderman Sawyer.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just got on. I'm sorry.
All right. So we're on the motion in regards to the 41st Ward. A yes vote would mean that we would amend and have the discussion of this item today. A no vote means that we will not have this discussion today.
Well, let's have a discussion there. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Okay. Alderman Beal.
No.
Alderman Raymond Lopez.
No.
Alderman David Moore. Okay. Alderman Mike Rodriguez.
Yes.
Alderman Cicho Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Cardona. Alderman Wagasback.
Yes.
Alderwoman Austin.
Yes.
Alderman Villegas. Alderman Riley. Alderman Kappelman.
Yes.
Alderman Osterman.
Yes.
Alderwoman Haddon.
Yes. Just yelling it.
Yes.
Alderman Raboyes votes yes.
Alderman Dowell votes yes.
All right, Alderman Bow. Okay, and Chairman Tunney votes yes.
Alderman Hopkins votes no.
I'm sorry,
Vice Chair
there's a
Raboyes
lot of
votes
commotion
yes.
in the back here.
Alderman Hopkins votes no.
Hopkins votes no. So if you're, please mute yourself, folks, because a lot of.
We've got 12 yeas and 3 nays.
Okay, so we have 12 yays and 3 nays. So the item will be heard today.
All right, lay it on the table, Frank. Excuse me.
Well, that's a mute point right now.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so Alderman Raymond Lopez, you have a motion to lay that vote on the table. Lay the item on the table.
Supersede motion.
No, sir. I'll
I
withdraw.
think
Let's
that's
get-
another meeting.
Okay, so he's withdrawing. So at the end of it, we will now discuss this item, and let me read it into the record. All right. Let me get back. Okay, we're on the bottom of page 9. And we are in document number 20699, 41st Ward. Ordinance was referred on May 26th of 2021. The common address is 8535 West Higgins Road. And the change request from plan development number 44 to B32 Community Shopping District, and then the business residential plan development as amended. So we have, I think, is it Liz Butler on this call? Who's
Yes,
going to be
Mr.
speaking?
Chairman.
Liz, are you going to make the presentation?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Liz Butler from the law firm of Elrod Friedman, LLP. Along with my partner, Peter Friedman, we represent the applicant in this matter, Glenstar O'Hare, LLC. I'm joined today on the call by representatives of the development team, including Michael Klein, Rand Diamond, and Jim Robinson of Glenstar, and Mike Daroon of Fitzgerald Architects, the project architect. The applicant is before the committee today to request your favorable consideration of the applicant's 2021 application to amend plan development number 44 to authorize the construction of a 7-story transit-oriented development consisting of a multi-unit residential building with 297 dwelling units, of which 59 will be affordable units constructed on site at the subject property. This application was considered by the Plan Commission on August 26th, 2021, and received favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission by a 9-to-1 vote. We would request that the transcript and record of the Plan Commission proceedings be incorporated and made a part of the proceedings here today.
So Alderman Wagasback moves to incorporate the records from the Plan Commission by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum. Any objections to the motion? Hearing none, the records are incorporated. Would you continue, Liz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And before I begin our presentation, we also submitted a set of exhibits to the committee in advance of this hearing. We sent hard copies to the ward office of all committee members, and digital copies, we understand, were also provided to all committee members and their staff. And we would respectfully ask that those exhibits also be received into evidence and incorporated into the proceedings today.
Motion on all the additional information to be incorporated? I thought that was from the Plan Commission itself.
There are some additional materials that were included in the exhibit binder.
All right. So the additional documents that were sent to all committee members, we're going to incorporate that into the records of the Plan Commission. Alderman Wagasback makes that motion to move the issue from the applicant into the records. Any objections to that? Hearing none, the additional information is all incorporated into the record. So carry on.
Thank you. And we can go to the next slide, please. This slide depicts the site plan of the overall plan development, which contains 21.7 acres of net site area and is divided into 2 sub-areas. Sub-area A on the right, or the east side of the PD, is improved with an existing hotel. This is an approximately 680-key Marriott Chicago O'Hare Hotel and parking lots along Higgins Road. Subarea A is not affected by the proposed PD amendment. The site that is the subject of this amendment is within subarea B, which is shown in the center of the site plan on the left of the screen. Thank you. At the northern edge of the planned development, this is about 2.92 acres of area. Subarea B today is improved with an existing office building that was constructed in 2019. The applicant is proposing to divide subarea B into 3 parcels. And we can go to the next slide, please. This is a land use map that shows the subject property located in the center of the screen along Higgins Road. The property is located in the O'Hare community area on the northwest side of the city, and this exhibit demonstrates the existing adjacent land uses. To the north, we have Park Ridge. This is the corporate boundary of the city of Chicago. To the east, we have commercial. To the south is the 12-story hotel, as well as the Kennedy Expressway. Immediately to the west is an 8-story office building, and then to the west of that is a complex of multi-story office buildings. The underlying zoning classification for the PD is the B3 Community Shopping District, which permits mixed-use commercial and multifamily residential development. Today, the planned development allows the subject site to be developed with an 190-foot tall office building with as many as 3,000 vehicular parking spaces in subarea B. In light of the pandemic and current market conditions, there is no demand for office or retail at this location. Yet there is continued demand for high quality, modern, accessible, market rate, and affordable housing at this location. This proposed PD amendment will allow for a project that is far less intense from a traffic, height, and use standpoint than what is permitted under the current PD. And we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This project was presented to the 41st Ward Zoning Advisory Committee in December 2016. The applicant was asked to return to the advisory committee in January 2017, at which point the community group voted unanimously to support the project. This outcome is reflected in the Zoning Advisory Committee meeting minutes, which were included in the exhibit binder as applicants exhibits 4 and 5. Based on the strong support of the community and elected officials at that time, the applicant advanced the project and filed an application for a similar project at this site and proceeded to present the project to Plan Commission in July 2017. When that application was considered by the Committee on Zoning in 2018, it failed to pass by a vote of 5-7, despite an outpouring of support from the community. The current PD amendment application was filed in May 2021. As is the case with all plan development applications, this application was reviewed by the Department of Planning and Development, CDOT, the Department of Housing, Stormwater, Landscape, Fire Prevention, and the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. The exhibit binder includes those sign-offs and approvals from the various reviewing departments, as well as the Department of Planning and Development staff report, which recommends approval of the request. Throughout 2021, the applicant presented the updated plan for the project to surrounding property owners, community stakeholders, as well as committee members. The committee members should have received both in the exhibit binder and directly a number of letters of support, including many Northwest Side constituents who strongly support this project. And as you heard during the public comment period, the project is supported widely by the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, Chicago Apartment Association, the Chicago Federation of Labor, Neighbors for Affordable Housing, the Logan Square Neighborhood Association, Metropolitan Planning Council, the Northwest Side Housing Center, United Northwest Side, and the Chicago Fair Housing Alliance, among many others. You also received individual letters of support, many from residents of the 41st Ward and the Northwest Side. As counsel for the applicant, we did not receive a single phone call or email from any neighbor or objector to this project. And we note that not a single person spoke in opposition to this matter at the Plan Commission hearing earlier this year, and you didn't hear a single person speak against the project during the public comment period today. Next slide, please. I'll move quickly through the design presentation. These are the ground floor and typical floor plans. Next slide, please. And this is the landscape plan showing the proposed enhancements to the pedestrian realm that will provide access to the adjacent and accessible Blue Line CTA station that abuts the property to the south. Next slide, please. These are project renderings looking east from Higgins. Next slide, please. And here are aerial views, both east and west. Next slide. Building elevations, north and south. Next slide. East and west building elevations. And next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, the demand for office, retail, and hospitality at this location is weak to non-existent. The demand for residential, however, remains strong. There is a demonstrated market need and demand for housing in this area of the city, both market rate and affordable units. Some details here, CMAP data reflects that 94% of the housing stock in the O'Hare community area was constructed before 1999. So only 5% of existing housing is modern and accessible to people with disabilities in our aging population. A CoStar report that we pulled today shows that within a half-mile radius of this site, 96.6% of units, residential units, are occupied. Greater than 93% occupancy is generally considered to be fully stabilized. CBRE's third quarter 2021 apartment fundamentals market report confirms this data, reflecting also a 96% occupancy rate for this submarket, and this submarket is considered stabilized. Housing access in this area is even more challenged for early career public servants and working class professionals. Only 20% of housing in this submarket is affordable to households that are earning 60% of the area median income. That's compared to the citywide average, which is 36% affordable. Further, only 10% of housing units in this area are considered naturally occurring affordable housing units, and that's compared to the citywide average of 26%. No residential projects have been constructed in this community area under the ARO, and there are 0 ARO units in this community area. You can tell our team completed extensive research and analyzed the data on demographics, income levels, and characteristics of housing stock in this area. And
Liz, with all due respect, this is not the housing committee, okay? This is a zoning application. So I know we're gonna hear from the commissioner and others, but let's try to keep it less on the affordability of it. We'll hear a lot more about that. We've already heard a lot about it. Okay, thanks.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The developer is proposing 59 units of affordable housing, all on site. Of those, 20 units will be affordable to households earning 50% of the AMI, and 3 units will be affordable to households earning 40% of the AMI. And we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. A traffic study was prepared and reviewed by CDOT. CDOT concurred with the conclusions of the traffic study. It's important to note again that this is a highly transit accessible location. It's immediately adjacent to the Cumberland Blue Line station. The applicant has established an easement across the southern perimeter of the planned development and has constructed pedestrian access across that easement to facilitate access to the CTA station. Finally, the developer received IDOT approval for the installation of a traffic signal, which is currently being installed at the property that will be completed before the end of the year. That will further ameliorate any material traffic impact. Next slide, please. A school impact study was completed. The findings of that study were that the proposed development would likely only generate 5 to 16 school-aged residents. We can go to the next slide, please. There are many reasons that this committee should recommend approval of the project. Listed on this slide are among the public benefits, including the $91 million investment, 228 construction jobs, 15 permanent jobs, 59 units of affordable housing, the enhanced pedestrian access that I just mentioned, and compliance with the city's MBE, WBE participation goals. That concludes our presentation. Peter Friedman and I and our team are available to respond to any questions that the committee might have. We appreciate your attention to this matter, and we kindly request your favorable consideration of this important project.
Thank you, Liz. Before, I'm going to ask two things. I'm going to ask Alderman Napolitano to speak on the item. Then I'm going to ask Commissioner Navarro, who would like to speak on the item. And then if Alderman Napolitano would like to respond to that, and anytime if there's committee members that would like to ask any questions, please raise your hands on this. So we will hear from Alderman Napolitano.
Thank you, Chairman. If capable, I'd prefer to go at the end, please. Thank you,
All
Chairman.
right. Okay. So Commissioner Navarro then?
Thank you, Chairman. Tony, can you hear me?
We can.
All right, great. Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. You've heard from the developer the details of the proposal, so I won't repeat those. I would instead like to speak to why the mayor, the Department of Planning, and the Department of Housing all support this proposal. And the reason for our support falls into three main categories. Those are jobs, transit-oriented development, and affordability. So I'll run through those quickly. Starting with jobs, this is really about maintaining our competitiveness as a city when it comes to workers at O'Hare. O'Hare Airport has about 40,000 badged employees. Average salary is around $33,000. We've got baggage handlers at around $14 an hour, customer service agents at around $12 an hour. We need people in these jobs. We need them to be able to access housing they can afford, and we can't have them traveling 2 hours to get there. This is a citywide concern. The second point is about transit-oriented development. This proposal, as you heard, is steps from the Cumberland Blue Line and 2 stops from O'Hare. So the city passed its transit-oriented development ordinance first in 2013. It was strengthened further in 2015 and again further in 2018 by building in a whole stream of work on what makes transit-oriented development equitable. That led to an equitable TOD plan that the Plan Commission unanimously approved back in June. So the point of that policy is to encourage compact, walkable, mixed-use, transit-oriented development near CTA and metro stops, and to promote affordability in higher cost areas. We'd like to get to the point where we're not relitigating the value of transit-oriented development every time a new proposal comes forward. We've already decided, and in fact, we've tripled down on that decision as a city, that matters to us, and that land near transit should be prioritized for dense development with affordability. That's what this proposal offers, and it is, in fact, a citywide concern. And the third point is about affordability. You heard some about this already. The proposal would deliver just under 60 units of affordable housing, reaching as low as 40% of the area median income. And there's a couple of reasons for me in particular why this matters. 59 affordable units is the size of an entire low-income housing tax credit development. In fact, 59 affordable units is larger than 6 of the developments we announced funding for last week. Except in this case, the developer is paying for it. There are no public funds involved. And that's important because, as we all know, we can't subsidize our way out of our affordable housing needs. We just simply don't have the funds to do that. So last week, when we announced over $1 billion in affordable housing investments, we squeezed every dollar out of every subsidy we had to make that happen. It just does not make sense for us to fight that hard for our own resources and then turn down opportunities for affordable housing that are privately funded. And the other reason why these nearly 60 units of affordable housing matters is that there is an undeniable need. Many of you will remember a project, 5150 West Northwest Highway. It's nearby in Jefferson Park, 75 units of affordable housing. They recently started lease up of that development. For 75 units, they have over 700 people on their waiting list, and 400 of them are current Northwest Side residents. So there is absolutely need. In the past 10 years, the only affordable housing that's been built in this community area is for seniors, which does not help our workforce get to jobs, and it doesn't help families. In this ward, 41st Ward, less than 5% of affordable housing is regulated. Less than 5% of rental housing is regulated affordable. So just to give a quick sense of what that means, in the city on the south side, there are 5 community areas with more than 30% regulated affordable housing. And one of them is in fact 82% regulated affordable housing. So our stance is that all communities need to contribute to meeting the city's affordable housing needs, all communities. And this too is a citywide issue. So our reasons for support are, again, jobs, transit-oriented development, and affordability. I do want to quickly address some of the objections that I have read and heard to this proposal and just speak to those quickly. One concern is on density. And I want to point out that the proposed residential use is less dense and would generate less traffic than if a developer were to build commercial as of right under the current zoning. For instance, this proposal is 94 feet versus 190 feet, which are allowed. And it provides 270 parking spots as compared to 600 cars coming and going if it were commercial. We've also heard a concern about school crowding. You heard from the developer's attorney, school impact study from this year found 5 to 19 likely school-age children. And finally, the final argument I've heard is that there's already rental housing in the 41st Ward. And there is housing in the area within a half-mile radius. As you've heard, it's more than 96% occupied. Anything above 93% is industry standard. We're always going to have a few units vacant because of turnover and repairs and so on. So the fact that there are other rental units in the area does not negate the need for more, especially since this community grew by 5% since 2010. So finally, our view is that access to jobs and access to transit and access to affordable housing are citywide issues as well as local. Listening to constituents is, of course, a crucial part of being an elected official and of being an appointed official. And we all need to take resident input very seriously. I know for the Department of Planning and for the Department of Housing, many proposals that have come before us have changed substantially based on community input, as they should. And at the same time, it is also true that those conversations need parameters. So our local discussions need to be about how we provide access to jobs, not if, how we create transit-oriented development, not if, and how we provide affordable housing, not if. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Alderman Osterman's hand up, but before I go to Alderman Osterman, Alderman Napolitano, you want to just close at the end, or would you like to speak now and then be available for questions?
Yeah, if it's okay, Chairman, I'll close at the end and I'll take questions as well.
Okay, so let's
Thank you,
let's do the question portion. Committee members, please raise your hand. Obviously, I see Alderman Harry Osterman has his hand up. Harry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Quick question to the development team, if I might. This building, when it's built, will be managed by Glenstar Development, and they'll have on-site management at the property?
Correct, Alderman Osterman. Glenstar will manage the development of the project. They will engage a professional property management team, and there will be security at the property.
Okay, thank you. I just want to speak to the overall project.
Hold on,
and I think,
hold on, Harry,
go ahead.
one second. Yep. In the presentation, Liz, I did see that there's 15 permanent employees. Is that the permanent management that that Alderman Osterman is talking about between maintenance and security and such? Is that right?
Correct, that's right.
Okay, continue, Harry.
Thank you. I just want to speak to the development itself and the location and the need for affordable housing and just housing in general. I speak as an alderman who's seen a neighborhood change. A lot of people I grew up with live in the 41st Ward because they can't afford living in my neighborhood now. When this building is built, it's going to be housing for teachers. It's going to be housing for city employees who have to live in Chicago. It's going to be housing for employees at O'Hare. It's going to be housing for retirees that want to get out of their homes. And I think that it's going to provide 59 affordable units, which is critical for our city. And this will be marketed to residents who live on the northwest side of Chicago. Big picture, our city needs to increase housing and housing stock, but it also needs to increase affordable housing. And for our city to move forward, that housing has to be everywhere in the city, and every community and every ward has to do its part. So I believe that this location, which is literally bounded by an expressway, a highway in Park Ridge, and an area forest preserve to the west, is a location that is not going to negatively impact residents nearby and will provide a home for people. And I think when this building is built and there are 300 or plus more people living there, that will be their community within the city of Chicago. This is the right development to do. We should all support this and other developments like this across the city. So I stand in strong support of doing this. And I think once this building is built, people will look back and say, why were we arguing about this building for all these years? So I say that I would encourage all of my colleagues to support advancing this today and voting on it tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, my housing chairman. Alderman Kappelman has his hand up.
Thank you, Chairman. Almost 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to take a course from the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. And they talked about decisions that elected officials have to make. And there's two things that we look at. We look at what is popular, and that's certainly something that all of us need to do in city council because we have to get elected. And we also look at what is most wise. And both of them, when they work together, when what the community wants, and it's deemed as wise by many people, it makes that decision easy. And so actually, I commend Alderman Napolitano for really speaking out the voice of his residents, as he should. As we look at what is for the bigger picture, and the bigger picture, which Commissioner touched on, is jobs, TOD, and affordability. I mean, that is an issue across this entire city, and residents aren't going to always understand that. They notice what's in their backyard. So looking at the tension between what is wise and what is popular, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards what is wise. So I will support this zoning change, but I do so knowing that this is a difficult place for Alderman Napolitano to be in. Thank you, Chair.
Alderwoman Maria Hadden.
Thank you, Chair. Wanted to thank Commissioner Navarra and her team and Liz and the development team for the presentation. I'm glad that we're going to decide on this today. I just want to point out, and as some of my colleagues have said, we have some really large issues in this city that impact us all. We're facing them all together. And I hear a lot of us in council sometimes when we get on our soapboxes or talk about how it's going to take all of us to work together to solve these issues. And there's a reason that we frequently say this to ourselves and to one another. And it's, I think, I encourage colleagues to support this project. As our commissioner has told us, we need these affordable units. We need projects like this all over the city. We need to break precedent sometimes in order to not do just what my colleague Alderman Kappelman said is wise, which I agree with, but also what's prudent, what's going to get us closer to solving our problems. And so encourage colleagues to support this project, even though I know it breaks kind of precedent and decorum and how the city has done things. It's uncomfortable. And also, we do need to all work together to solve our bigger problems. We have an affordable housing crisis. We have a housing crisis in general. And we need to walk the walk as well as we talk the talk. So I'll be supporting this project, and I hope my colleagues will join me.
Alderwoman Pat Dowell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say that, you know, over the last few months, I've received several letters from people in support of this project, several hundred letters and emails. As an alderman who has 30% or more of her housing stock regulated or subsidized, I am someone who believes that there should be more opportunity in other locations throughout the city of Chicago, especially when the city average is around 8%. To be at 30% or less than 8%, you have to look at those communities. So I am going to be supportive of this project, and thank you for, you know, bringing it forward today for our consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman. I do not see other hands up, so I'm going to now go to Alderman Napolitano. Obviously, it's his ward, and we want to hear from him on this item.
Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
We can.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak, Chairman, and to my colleagues before I speak, I really do appreciate the tone that we're all taking this. These are difficult decisions to make, and I apologize to put you guys through this, each and every one of you, for the last 4 years. But it is part of our job, and I do appreciate the feedback and the attentive to what's going on here. But without further ado, just going forward, the good thing about this meeting is that it is a Zoom meeting. So this affords you the opportunity to go on your computer while we're in this Zoom meeting, and please, I beg you, please, to just look at this location while we're talking. You can Google it. You'll see that there's over 7,500 apartments in less than a 7 block by 7 block radius. If you were to go to that location, if I ask you just to do the simplest thing, afford me this, just type in East River Road in Catalpa, or East River Road in Berwyn, or Foster in Delphia. And while we're talking, just take your Zoom map and cruise through the, I don't even have a word to put the immense amount of apartments in this location. The amount of apartments that everyone is pretending like doesn't exist. So as I go through it, just do me just that simple favor and look at it. And going forward, about 500 yards from this project lies, like I said, about 7,500 apartments. By the city of Chicago's numbers, their statistical numbers, not mine, you heard the commissioner mention it as well, 96% of them are occupied, which means we have over 300 apartments in that area which are still vacant. Here's the huge point in that. Of those 7,500 apartments, and of the 300 that are still vacant, there's only 3 large building complexes over there that house approximately 3,500 of the 7,500 apartments, leaving the remaining 4,000 apartments, which are housed, as you'll drive through that area on Google Maps, 3 flats, 6 flats, and some 9 flats, some a little bit bigger. These buildings make up the absolute bulk of apartments and are owned by mom and pop. Residents of our ward, residents many of your wards, but these are homeowners or property owners. Market rate for a lot of these apartments is $950 to $1,100, some listed as low as $750 online. Each and every one of these owners are struggling for occupants, as well as the vast majority of them did everything they can do to keep the tenants during this pandemic that we just talked about. We just spent the last 2 years looking for a way to help our renters, as well as help our mom and pop property owners. Now we're going to let a corporate developer come in and add an additional 300 apartments when they're not needed. I find it offensive to say that these are not upgraded apartments or well-kept apartments. We have a community that puts everything they have into the residential area. They are upkept. They are brought up to modern times. They are made accessible for anybody that has special needs. So that is an incorrect statement. If you came out here and looked at these apartments, you would see it. This area is at maximum density. A brand new school addition that we just incorporated 2 years ago is almost already at population capacity. This is Dirksen Elementary School. If you take the time to look up Dirksen Elementary School as well, based on that area, they celebrate having over 100 children, different countries represented in that school alone. 100 different nations have their children going to that school alone. So there is an immense amount of diversity in this area that everyone pretends does not exist. The traffic in this area is unbearable due to this overpopulation as well. If you cruise through that area on Google Maps, like I asked, you will see that residents have actually made parking spaces on the parkway because there's nowhere left to park. This is contributed by the immense amount of people located in this area. This very exact same project, let's see, hold on one second. Okay, one thing I want you to know too is this very exact same project, I'd state, was brought before our zoning committee in 2018 and was shot down by the zoning committee in 2018. Now, the new is a complete overstep of all of us as aldermen, including you someday, bringing all proposals, including the ones that have been shot down in the past, and submitting them to planning and development, then directly to zoning like they did here today. Your community and you have no say any longer. This is also observed by this was deferred until February, but was asked to be heard again today. I'm assuming each one of you may have received calls to support this project. Maybe slight chance some of you have received calls not to support it. But please, whatever you have been told, see this for what it really is and what it is becoming. This project is a commercial PD that is requesting to be changed to residential against the support of the ward residents, most importantly, and the ward aldermen. We too have submitted over 2,500 signatures of people in opposition to this development in the last meeting that we attended. We too have been part of meetings that have met in the planning development where over 700 community members have arrived to that planning and development meeting in opposition to another project that was done 2 years ago with over 7,500 signatures and letters in opposition to that same project that in essence was just overridden by them showing up in their letters and it was approved. So there is a lot of dismay and a lot of support in believing that a letter or somebody coming onto this meeting and talking is going to change anyone's mind. You always get hit with the buzz phrase of how this vote is to what we're voting on right now. There's buzz phrases on how we vote, certain terms and terminologies that are used to scare you in voting a different way. These terms going forward will be applied to everything that we do as aldermen. We introduce ordinances and amendments. Then those ordinance amendments might not make a lot of people happy, but they're done for the greater purpose. And it's our job as electeds to get our fellow aldermen to support those greater good or to not support them. The same way that it's done at the federal and state level. This can be called aldermanic prerogative in some cases, but it's not. It's your job to get colleagues to support things or not support things for the better good of your ward or the city of Chicago. We should see it as what it is. It's our job. On behalf of building something and constructing something and creating jobs, we would love to see the 200 proposed union jobs in construction of this building, but it be done as commercial like it's zoned for. We would rather see, instead of 14 permanent jobs, we'd rather see a couple hundred permanent jobs that would be employed at that same location, utilizing the TOD in the same way. It's footsteps from the blue line. So our employees there can take the blue line there, and it cuts back on traffic, and it cuts back on parking in the area, as well as working remotely. One thing I want you to know in closing, I understand this is a tough decision, but remember this today. Today, it's a commercial that's being forced into being changed to residential in 41. Tomorrow may be residential to manufacturing in your ward. Today, I'm sitting in the hot seat, and you may like me, you may hate me, but your decision will definitely reflect the precedent when you are sitting in the hot seat tomorrow. This is a complete overstep of our office. This is a complete overstep of what our ward wants. It has been shot down in 2018, gone around us to Plan Commission, and brought into zoning today for you to vote on it. You may be the next person that has to deal with it. I again apologize to put you through this for the last 4 years, but please see this for what it is. We have an immense amount of property here or residents that need to be filled before we build an additional 300 apartments. Please think of our residents who own these properties as well before we build something like this. Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the time to speak. Thank you to my colleagues as well. Sorry to ramble on, but as you know, this is a very passionate topic. And I'd like to finish with one thing too. You know, I have a great respect for Chairman Osterman, and I tug on his sleeve for a lot of things. And as a champion of affordable or building, as he said, is building more property or building more residential in our wards. The chairman alone had just shot down a property at 5828 North on Broadway, which was 20 units, and 4 of them were going to be affordable. And the only reason why I bring that up is if we're building because we're hurting for residential area for people to live. You just stated it's too expensive to live in your ward, and that's why people live in my ward. Well, you have an opportunity to create more apartments in your ward as well, to give people the opportunity to live in that ward. And I don't say that as a slight, and I don't say it as a backhand comment, because you do know I respect you, but this has happened and this is happening. And you had cited that you did what your ward wanted. Your ward did not want it, so you did not pursue it. In closing, thank you very much again for your time and the opportunity to speak here today, Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alderman Napolitano. And I'm not going to get in a tit for tat about what projects are, but are there specific questions for Alderman Napolitano on this proposed development? All right. So can I get a motion to move to pass by the same roll call that was used to determine quorum on this item in the 41st ward?
Roll call, please.
So moved.
Okay, so it's.
Roll call.
I get it. Okay, so the motion was made by Alderman Dowell, but Alderman Lopez has asked for a roll call on this item. So I am going to, please unmute yourself, mute, whatever you're doing, keep quiet. Okay. All right, we're gonna start with the roll call on this item. Obviously, a yes vote is in support of this affordable housing development, and a no vote is not to support it. You've heard from all parties, and now it's time to take the roll call, and I'll start with Vice Chair Raboyes. All right, Alderman Hopkins.
No.
Alderman Pat Dowell. Alderman Dowell.
Give her a moment, please. She's getting on.
Yeah, since she made the motion, I'm.
It was Haddon that made the.
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry, Alderwoman Haddon. So for our records, make sure that we have that right. Okay, all right. Alderman Dowell.
Yes, I vote for this.
Okay. Alderman Sawyer.
Aye.
Alderman Beal.
No.
Alderman Ray Lopez.
No.
Alderman David Moore.
No.
Alderman Mike Rodriguez.
Aye.
Alderman Cicho Lopez.
Aye.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Cardona. Alderman Wagasback.
Yes.
Alderman Kerry Austin.
Yes.
Alderman Villegas.
Yes.
Alderman Riley.
No.
Alderman Kappelman.
Yes.
Alderman Osterman.
Aye.
Alderman Haddon.
Aye.
Chairman Tunney is an aye. What's the number?
12 yeas, 5 nays.
All right, our records show we have 12 in support and 5 in opposition. So this item is passed and will be referred to the full city council tomorrow. All right, then I get Alderman Osterman, please. Yes.
To be very brief, I appreciate the committee's support of that, and I appreciate the dialogue on it. Alderman Napolitano did bring up an issue in my ward, and I just want the record to reflect that I did turn down a small zoning proposal, but right across the street, I proposed an 80+ unit, 100% affordable building in my neighborhood on the north side. Everyone's got to do our part. So thank you for letting me clarify that, Chairman.
Thank you for the clarification. And with that, I need a motion. Alderman Osterman makes the motion to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Don't be.
Aye.
Look at it. My staff overruled me on this. You know, this is not me.
Love it. I need to see, I need to see that outfit fully on Wednesday,
So,
Chairman.
Yeah, I've been put on a little bit of weight. This job is causing a little bit too much stress for me. So that being said,
Cut back on the rolls.
The motion to adjourn. All
You
those in
eating too many of
favor?
those sweet rolls, man.
Yeah,
Leave those sweet
aye.
rolls
And
alone.
any opposed? Okay, this meeting is adjourned, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.